Hello and welcome. This is Working Class to World Class. But before we go any further, I do have a little favour of you. If you could hit that follow or subscribe button, then that would be a massive help. Thank you. In this episode, I catch up with someone who makes much of his living from the techno and dance scene, going from that little working class kid who during the summer holidays would be kicking his football around the field for hours and hours, to now travelling the world as a well-known DJ. Breaking through the barriers of adversity, I'm Lynn Lester, and this is Working Class to World Class. So, Colin, welcome. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you very much, Lynn. It's great to be here.
Brilliant. Well, we're about to delve a little bit into your business, into your life. Obviously, working class to world class is a theme of the day. And, before we kind of get into that, could you just give everybody a bit of an insight into who is Colin Dale?
Well, I'll try and kind of round it up as briefly as I can. Primarily, I'm a DJ. I've been DJing now for about 35 years. I had long stints at London's Kiss FM, and Kiss FM were, I think, the first legal station in the UK to run dance music 24 hours. So I was there for 18 years. I've traveled the world DJing. My kind of genre of speciality is kind of techno music, house music, and I've run clubs. I have a record label. And I produce music as well. So I'm doing a lot of things within the dance music scene. Very well established in London, and the south of England is where I do the most of my work. But I do travel worldwide doing gigs. I do a lot of festivals that I'm a resident at. And that in a nutshell is it.
That's pretty impressive, I have to say. So just I was a Kiss FM fan, so I did tune in regularly. I loved the music and the tune. So you probably were on, and maybe I just didn't realise it was you.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, I was one of the specialist DJs who tended to be on after kind of 8 o'clock in the evening. So I used to do a 2 hour show in between 8 and 10 on a Thursday night. And I worked very closely with another really big DJ, the late Colin Dale. We used to run clubs and promotions together. So I was there for quite a while, you know.
Brilliant. And it's funny, so my son's coming up for 21 and he's a real techno fan. He absolutely loves techno music. So generally when we're in the car, it's like, do you want to hear the new tracks? I'm like, yeah, go for the new mixes. And so he's surprised. He'll go, how do you know that song? And it's like, Lewis, that was out years ago and they're just mixing it in now. So yeah, love it. So I'm a big fan. So obviously, there's a lot of people, especially my son's age group, who think, oh my God, I'd love to be a DJ, or they're just sort of dabbling in it. But did you ever think when you were younger, that's what you would end up doing?
Absolutely not. My first job was actually for Barclays. I used to work in their head office in London. That was my first main job before I ever got into music. So as you can imagine, back then when I started DJing wasn't really known as a career that you could do. I'm nearly 60 now, so I've been doing it for 35 years, 40 years. So we were primarily just really into the music we played, and it was a hobby more than anything else. And for me, it was a hobby that over the period of a year or two ended up turning into not what I would have called a career back then, but something that I started to do full time. And so I took up the DJ and I started doing a radio show on Pirate, Kiss FM with Pirate at the time, and started working in record shops. And like I said, it was very much a hobby that I was just really passionate and into back then. And I wasn't thinking like 10, 20, 30 years ahead by any means. So yeah, it was a hobby I was just really passionate about.
Yeah, I think to be honest, in that kind of age group, nobody really thinks beyond. I mean, maybe now they're a bit more savvy, but even when I was younger, you think what's happening next week? Are you going to get to go out? Never mind what's going to
Exactly.
happen in 10 years. And so for you then growing up, where were you? Where were you brought up?
I grew up in Brixton, South London, and nowadays Brixton is very kind of gentrified and quite a well-to-do area. But when I was growing up in Brixton, it was the total opposite of that. Um, so yeah, my roots are in Brixton, South London, really.
Yeah. And you were saying obviously your life was different back then. So different in what kind of way would you say?
Well, Brixton was a very poor area. I come from a very kind of working class family. My parents were immigrants from the West Indies that came over in the late 50s. So yeah, things were quite tough when I was growing up. I come from quite a large family as well. I've got five siblings. So yeah, it was quite tough when I was growing up, and went to quite a rough school and stuff like that. Even though I did do quite well in school, which led me working for Barclays when I left. So yeah, it was quite tough. There were a lot of troubles in Brixton as well. You had things like the Brixton riots going on. So yeah, that was my growing up. That's where I grew up, and yeah, it was a tough area.
Yeah. And you had five, or there's sort of six of you, including you. So
Six of us.
what was that
Um,
like in the house?
it was great. I got on with all my brothers and sisters. I was the oldest, and thankfully the house we were in were quite big, and yeah, we all got on really well.
Yeah. Well, what did your mum and dad do for a living then?
My mum done a lot of kind of part-time jobs, like she was a dinner lady and a cleaner at the local school. My father was a builder, first a bricklayer and then a builder. So that's what my parents done.
Yeah. And so,
Mm.
I can imagine growing up, back then, as you say, it's a bit tougher. I don't imagine you ever really, and I could be wrong, but, I don't imagine you were ever told about all the careers you could do and everything, where you could go. Did you think that was kind of your world that you would always be in?
Um, in actual fact, it wasn't too bad in being pointed into different careers. Actually, before I even started going for jobs, what I really wanted to do, I sat down and thought about it, and I thought I wanted to be a TV engineer because I thought people are always going to have televisions, and there's always going to be work out there and stuff. And I think I would have been very wrong, especially around now, because people just go out and buy a new TV if the old one doesn't work. So that was the first thing I wanted to do. I was very interested in technical drawing and architectural drawing as well at school, and stuff like that. I was into music as well. I played violin at school and the French horn, uh, both of which I don't play now. But that was my musical roots at school.
Yeah, so you always had it in your blood. You always loved it. And like when you were growing up, did you have like holidays and things like that?
Nothing of length. We'd have like weekend
Yeah.
trips to seaside towns like Margate, Liverhampton, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Usually connected to the church, so we'd all go as a big group away for the weekend, but nothing abroad when I was growing up. Not until I left home.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were just weekends away, pretty much.
Yeah, I remember like for us, the kind of big holidays was like Butlins. So I love to go to Butlins or
Yeah,
Blackpool. So my brother lives in Blackpool. So we would go down and visit him. But so it was like a family trip. And then
sure.
we would go along the front and get our stock rock and our, our candy floss. And I loved it because you only knew what you knew, right? So you didn't know
Exactly,
abroad.
exactly. None of my friends were going abroad. Well, not many of them. So yeah, I didn't really feel like I was missing anything because I didn't know any different.
Yeah. And so
Mm.
see when you were at school, you were saying you were obviously quite good because you got the grades that you needed to then progress. What were
Mm.
you like with your friends? Did you have quite a big friendship group?
No, no, quite. I mean, I was popular at school, but my actual tight friends, my circle was quite small,
Yeah,
maybe four friends. So yeah, quite small. And my friends were like me; they were really into studying, and I wasn't the type of kid that got into trouble. I had a really kind of strong church upbringing as well. Uh, which really helped me keep out of trouble and stuff like that. I never got into trouble at school or with the police,
yeah.
or I was quite a straight kid, really, growing up. Yeah,
Yeah, same here. I was such a goody two shoes. I was too scared because my mum, like the wrath of my mum, like, oh my God,
yeah,
and you're never going to go there. And
yeah,
she never ever hit us or anything. Like, I never got hit, never got, but it was always a fear that it might happen.
sure, yeah, yeah. Actually, I was like that with my daughter. Actually, I've never spanked her or anything. I just had to give her a certain look, and she'd know not to go any further.
Yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah,
It was that, or occasionally she would take off her slipper. It's a
yeah,
little kind
yeah,
of wielding threat, but I never. I
yeah,
think maybe once or twice got a little tip, but yeah,
yeah.
done me no harm, I tell you. And
Good.
so, obviously you then, but the sounds of it was quite nice. You've got your siblings around you. You're going little nice trips in the summer.
Mm,
Not extravagant, but you didn't need
mm.
that. That was fine. Obviously, the church is sort of solid in terms of your life and your values. So it sounds to me as if actually, regardless of being working class, it was probably quite a nice upbringing. Is that fair to say that?
Yeah, yeah. I had very supportive parents, supported me all the way through and pretty much anything that I wanted to do. So yeah, yeah, it was nice. Uh, like I said, the support of my parents was a really big thing for me. Even when I left banking and decided I wanted to throw myself into music, they were very supportive because
Yeah,
they were into music as well. My musical roots probably come from my parents listening to reggae, soul music. They were even into my mum was even a big Tom Jones fan, and so we used to listen to all types of music. And of course, as kids back then, we used to listen to the radio a lot as well. So yeah, very supportive parents, loving
yeah.
parents. Yeah.
Oh, that they sound great. But I mean, I guess, being working class, was there any kind of, would you say, hardships that you felt actually it wasn't always a bed of roses? There was kind of hard moments.
Oh, absolutely. I wanted for a lot of things, actually. You know what it's like going to school. You have people
Yeah,
wearing the latest trainers and, stuff like that. I never really kind of had that. I'm not saying I went without trainers, but I wouldn't have the latest. And money was short as well, especially when my father became ill, because my father died kind of relatively young, uh, in his mid 50s. So yeah, things were always tight, but it didn't make me unhappy or sad. Like I said, I had a very
yeah,
happy upbringing, but yeah, I did want for a lot of things.
yeah.
But it wasn't so bad because my friends were in the same situation as well. So yeah, we just got by with what we had pretty much.
Yeah, and I guess as well, I don't know about you, but for me, it gives me a real sense of appreciation of everything that I have now
Mm,
because you didn't
for
have it
sure.
then. And so even
Mm,
now I'll say to my son, like, don't take that for granted. You're very lucky. And actually also I made it that my son never had the silver spoon growing up because I never
mm,
wanted him to be privileged. It's just not how we were brought up. And I just don't think
sure.
it's appropriate in some situations.
Mm, absolutely, yeah.
So for you then, right? So you've obviously gone through school. So we've kind of got the gist of your background, which sounds great. So when you finished school, what then happened? Was it straight to work, or was it a college or uni, or what was your path?
Um, well, I actually done a bit of college while I was at school. We used to do evening classes, but then I was like doing electronic engineering and that. I must have
Yeah,
been about 15. Um, and then when it came to leave school, because I didn't have, I wanted to go out and earn money pretty much. And like I said, very Barclays was actually the first interview I went to, and I got the job and ended up working in one of their head offices in the city near Bank Station. So, I was absolutely thrilled about that. Left school straight into a job like that. I had money, and that's what when I really started going out and exploring nightlife, and that was my initial kind of introduction into going out a lot. I had money to spend, buy clothes, go out clubbing all the time, chasing girls with my best friend. And incidentally, my best friend was Fabio, who went on to be another really well-known DJ himself, but we both started on the same path together. So, yeah, I didn't feel the need to do further education. I got the job and I thought, that's it. So I went and started working.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think once you get a taste for earning money, you never want to go
Mm,
back, and you can
yeah,
really, it's almost like you can do without it. I mean, of course you can if you have to, but you don't want to. And so
yeah.
you have to tell me, what was it like to get that first paycheck?
Oh, I felt like I'd never had so much money. And yeah, it was great. I was able to look after people, give my parents back some money, which was great. I left home pretty early. I must have been about 17 or, something like that, 18. I left early. I had my daughter really early. I've got one daughter, and I had her when I was 20. So she's like 38 now,
Wow.
39, something like 39, yeah. So yeah, I had done all of those things early and worked at the bank for a couple of years, and then after that just got sucked into the whole music thing
Yeah. So
and started from there.
talk me through that then. So, if I'm sort of rationalizing it in my head,
Mm,
you're working in the bank, you've got a
mm,
steady income, and then you
mm.
start finding out this sort of DJing gig, you're doing stuff in pirate stations. But how does that even happen? Is it people that you knew that got you into it? Or just like I want to understand the relationship between going from banking to there.
Yeah. Well, I was always a music collector, so I had fantastic. I've been collecting records from the age of 13. So, come the age of 18, I had lots and lots of records. I was going
Yeah.
out a lot, so meeting other DJs, following other DJs and stuff. And I got into my first introduction to radio was doing like community radio, hospital radio. I was really into CB radio and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
so that was my initial introduction, and my first paid gig was actually Tim Westwood. Uh, we used to go down to a club he
Wow.
used to do on Friday nights. We were down there every week, and one week one of his main DJs didn't turn up, so he's asked me to do it. And I was still working at the bank in the time, and he asked me to do it. And I earned so well that I thought, wow, if I can keep doing this, then I don't have to work at the bank because the money was quite good for the DJ thing as well, even back then. So that was my initial introduction.
Wow. And I mean, it must have felt like euphoric. I can imagine, you're on the decks and you've got
Mm,
all these people just like having the
yeah.
best time. I mean, what did that feel like?
Well, we actually, I was a dancer. I was really into dancing before I even got behind the decks, and we used to have a little dance troupe and do these routines in clubs. And that was back then I wanted to be a dancer before I got behind the
Ah.
decks. And then I got behind the decks and thought, actually, this is what I want to do. So, I just threw myself into club world. We used to go to clubs 3 or 4 nights a week. We got to know all the DJs, all the people working at the stations, and slowly and progressively I got in that way. And then when I started
Yeah.
doing a radio show, they became quite popular because there wasn't uh, many um, um, legal dance music on the air. Lots they were
Yeah.
pirate. So when we went legal, we had a huge listenership.
Brilliant. I think it's my favorite line of the series, when we went legal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it changed everything for everyone, you know.
I
So we could
bet.
actually get paid for doing it as well when they went legal, which was great.
I mean, the one thing that I think you touched on actually is really pertinent, and it sounds to me as though you put yourself out there by getting to know people. So
Mm,
it's all about, for me, I very much believe in serendipity. It's all about being in the right place at the right time, but there's a bit of hustle in there. It's about speaking to people. It's about making yourself known. You know, if you're shy in the corner, you're probably not going to be spotted in the same way. So I actually think that's a really key learning, is to, would you say that, to get to know people?
absolutely. You know, it's a lot easier now with social media and the internet and stuff like that to actually reach out to people. But I think you have to actually go out and immerse yourself in it and get to know other people, you know, see what works, because I think the problem is a lot of kids see one side of DJing, which is the what I call the performance side. But actually behind that, there's a lot of work that goes on, and
Yeah.
it's like constant work, you know, looking for music, sourcing music, reaching out contacts, and really keeping on top of things. And it's very competitive as well. So you do have to go out there and make your own opportunities.
So you were doing obviously the illegal stuff, and then it went legal, which is great.
Mm.
And then talk me through that. So how did you then go for, like, pivot from there to then doing this really seriously, professionally?
I'd say I'd really think that I'd reached a kind of professional level when Kiss were legal. I was doing a regular show, and I just started to travel the world. I mean, done places like Australia, Russia, Japan, New Zealand. You know, pretty much everywhere. So that's when I realised I'd reached a professional level. I had management that taking care of all of my gigs and my schedule, and you know, DJs were playing in front of I was playing in front of 20, 30,000 people sometimes. So that's when I thought, you know, that I'd reached a professional level, and I'd see myself and other DJs turning it into a long term career. I mean, there are lots of 60-year-old DJs out there that started the same time as me that are still big and still going. So that's when I realized, when I really started to travel the world, um, doing gigs.
It's pretty cool. I mean, even when you say it, like, I'm a DJ, that's just, there's something really cool in even just saying those words. And like, how does someone get a manager? So you're doing this stuff. I mean, you're saying obviously you were touring, but how do you go on a manager's radar?
Well, it works two ways, really. You have to be relatively popular to, I think, to get good management, because at the end of the day, management want to make money, and they work with people that can help them make money, or they see a potential in someone that they can do well with. So you know, you've really got to build up your profile, and these days there's a lot of social networking involved and things like that, and that would be the best way to approach management. But I'd also say that these days management isn't a real necessity, because you can actually do it all yourself, which is what I'm doing now. I manage myself, and I did used to have a management agency a few years back, but now I just manage myself. I like to be in control, because I did have a situation once where I was working with big management, and then we fell out, and when they drop you, you know, things can go really horribly. And I learned from that, and I look after myself a lot. Um, I'm to blame if anything goes wrong and stuff like that. But yeah, getting on really good management is great if you're able to do that.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny, you said something there that struck a chord in me. So I don't think he meant it literally, but my dad used to say things to me like, never trust anybody. Now that
Mm,
sounds weird because I put my trust in loads of people, people that I really can trust.
mm,
But I kind of now as an adult get what he meant by that.
mm.
Because particularly in business, people are out sometimes, not all the time, but for what's in it for them. And so your case in point, there's interesting. You can trust people, but you just have to be a bit streetwise about how you do it.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can fall, like I said, you can fall out with people. You can, fall out of favor, be in flavor of the month, and then they put all their attention into someone else. And yeah, you can get on agencies and just sit there and nothing happens. I've seen that happen before. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you can have a piece in controlling what you do yourself, that's always great.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a control freak as well. So
Me
it does,
too.
it resonates with me totally. And so, obviously you're now, I mean, but what is it you're doing now? What's your sort of current gigs and different things that you're up to?
My current gig, I've got like my second, third, fourth wind. So I'm just really into it. At the moment, I'm doing a big push on my record label. We've got 3 new releases coming soon. Because I go out and sign talent from wherever it is. We've got a new night starting pretty soon. We're actually going to go and look at the club later on today to start a series of nights going through the summer with the Abstract Dance moniker, which is the name of my radio show and my record label. And we're doing lots of festivals up and down the country. And yeah, really, this summer's looking really busy, especially after COVID. It's great to see it bounce right back. COVID was difficult, of course, but yeah, really busy summer ahead by the looks of things.
Cool. It sounds cool. You never know. I might be turning up to one of your
You're
gigs.
always welcome. It'd be great to see you out there on the dance floor, strutting
Uh,
your stuff.
I'll be busting my moves. Don't worry. Something to see. And so, what would you say then? Right. So, I mean, you're one of the success stories. You're one of many because I'm speaking to so many people that, and it's just beautiful to hear that kind of working class era. You don't think maybe at the time you're going to amount to anything because it's your
Mm.
inner circle, but you build up. So is there any tips you would give to anyone who's sort of in that mindset at the moment about how could they break out into doing what they're passionate about?
Um, well, I think passion is the main word. If you can get something you're really, really passionate about, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be music, it could be writing or drawing or anything. First, find your passion, find out what it is, because that way you're always going to love what you do. And even when times are bad and you're down, if you're passionate about something, you're always going to want to do it. The other thing is um, you find when you're doing something that, like me, DJing or something you're passionate about, it can take time. If you don't do it in a month or two, don't give up, because in actual fact, it could take months or in some cases even years. And I'd say don't give up in on what you do. And keep the passion would be the one of the most important things. And also, I mean, this applies to me really, is be aware that I'm always aware that there's a lot of competition around me. Even though I've been in the game for 35 years, I never rest on my laurels or what I'd done years back. I'm always thinking of what I want to do. So be passionate and always think, about being number one. Don't be thinking, oh, I'm never going to make it. Aim to be, right at the top of whatever you want to do and chase that. Even if you don't get to number one, if you aim high, then you'll do well. and yeah, and just never give up on your thing.
Never give up. And I think
Mm.
what you're saying strikes a chord as well. It sounds to me as if your superpower is your passion and your love for what you do.
Yeah, I think that definitely, yeah, yeah, very
And to
passionate, and I love
yeah,
what I do.
brilliant. Well, you can tell, you can see it by a clear mile. And for us to sort of wrap up, what I would love to know is your family. Like, how proud are they of what you've achieved?
Well, my parents are gone now, but when they were around, they were very, very proud of what I done. Especially there was something about me getting on the radio and them hearing my voice coming out the speaker they loved. So they were very passionate. All my siblings actually, even though we had come from all working class background, have all done pretty well. Um, so yeah, they're proud of me, but I'm very proud of them. They're big in their field as well. So yeah, we admire each other, you know.
Oh, that is so nice. It's funny you say that as well, because I'm the youngest of 7 children. So I think it may just be
Okay,
a working class thing, isn't it? When people are
big
bored, there's nothing
family.
else to do.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you're right.
I'm the youngest of 7, and when I look at what my family do, and it ranges everything from nursing to caring to cleaning to
Mm,
factory work and I'm really proud of all of them for everything they do, because actually they all fulfill a role in society. And actually I think
absolutely.
what they do is much harder than what I do, because I could never look after someone that was really ill, like palliative care or anything like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it is about shared appreciation, isn't it, amongst your friends and
yeah.
your
Well, my
family?
girlfriend does that. She's a carer and she looks after people with dementia and stuff like that. Now, stuff like that, I don't think I've got the patience to do it. So I admire anyone, that does work like that.
Absolutely. Well, it's all about contributing, isn't it? And this has
Absolutely.
been great. I think it's just really, really nice to sort of nail it, and that if you've got a passion, if you
Mm,
really care, if it's worth getting out of bed for in the morning, it's
yeah,
worth being successful. And I think the other good point is, don't aim to be number two, aim to be number one.
absolutely.
On that spin bike last night, I was aiming for 180 and I could only get to 150. But boy, was I still going, tell him, like, come on, you can do it, you
Yeah,
can do it.
for
And it's
sure.
just like
Yeah.
life.
You have to be like that in your work as well, I think, especially if you're passionate about it.
Absolutely.
Aim for
Well,
number one.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I hope your
My
gig nights
pleasure.
go really well. And thank you for sharing your story, which is really, really inspiring.
My pleasure. And thanks for having me, Lynn. It's been
Thank you.
fantastic. Thank you very much.